All right, guys. So what I'm going to show you in this video is how you can connect WhatsApp to a Google Sheet, right? Using the API. So basically, you can connect this API and automate multiple things, but in this video, I will show you how you can send reminders, right? Via the API to numbers, right? So in this case, for example, what I have here is that I have for this demo just appointments, random appointments, right? So we have like the date of the appointment, what is the time of the appointment, the phones where we need to send this message to, and the names of the clients. In this case, just my name, I'm just like repeating my name here. And the idea is that we have this column here that is once it sends the message, it's gonna go back and right here, okay, right? So that means the message was sent correctly. All right, so let's run this so you can see how it will work. All right, so here we have the button where we can just click WhatsApp, send appointments, and you will see that we have this pop-up here that is sending the messages. So if we go to WhatsApp, I have this demo account. You can see that I received one, I should receive three, so the other one, and then another one is coming. Yeah, that one is here. So you can see pretty much the template. Let me move this here. Basically saying that this is a reminder about an appointment with myself, automationforall.com. This is the date, and then if you click here, it should take you to the website or whatever you want to put here. In this case, I just put in my website. But that's the idea, right? So yeah, now let's get into it. I'm Nicolas, and here at automationforgrowth.com, we have helped over 100 businesses automate their workflows. Yeah, so the idea with these videos is that I want to showcase some previous automations that I've done for some clients. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. So let's get into it. All right, so this is the agenda. Um, Basically, we need to know like some things, and we need to set up some things before we can do this automation. So I will go point by point here, explaining everything that you need to set up or you need to be aware of before doing this automation, all right? Because this API is a little bit tricky and takes yeah, it's just like has some nuance, right? So we need to be aware of some things. So the first thing is like creating the app. So I will explain how you can create an app in developers in the website. So you can like set up do all the setup. Then we need to get the refresh token. So here I will explain how you can do like what's the difference between a refresh token and the access token, how we can get both. Then templates, this part is important. I also will explain that because like it's not like you can send whatever via the API. You need to like first, like in this case, we need to set up like some templates and we need to send them like for approval in Facebook. But I will explain that once we get into that point. At the end, I will explain the code, right? I will do like a code walkthrough for the ones who care about the code. If you don't want to understand the code, just want the automation template, you can stop at step 3, right? It's cool. Okay, so let's get into the first point, how to create an app. So to create an app in Facebook, here to connect to the API, you need to go to developers.facebook.com/apps. As you can see here, I will put this link in the description, down below in the description, so you can just refer to it quickly. But once you are in this page, you can see here that you can create apps. If you haven't created an app, like never, you will just get a button here that it says create an app. But as you can see here, I was doing some tests. So I already have some apps here. So you go here and then you create an app. You click here, create an app. So you give it a name. So in this case, I will just call it demo YouTube. And here, app contact email, you put your email, right? And then once you have that, you click in next. And here you can select multiple things. So you can see that in this case, we're doing the connection for WhatsApp. So you connect here, but basically you can see here that if you were to be doing this for other type of APIs that Meta offers, you could do it the same way, right? So in this case, just WhatsApp, but all the products work the same. So you click here and connect through WhatsApp. Okay, so now click next. And then here you will select the business portfolio. So basically the business portfolio is like the business that you have with Meta, right? So just make sure that you select the one that you're using for this. Like for example, if you want to send messages from a specific business, it needs to be this business here, right? If you don't have one, just create a business portfolio and then just follow the flow, and then you can connect it here. It's important that you connect a business portfolio, right? In this case, you have some tests, but I'm gonna use Lingual, is the one that I always use for these demos. Then click next, and then here you can just ignore that for now, and then continue, right? So here you can see just the details, and then go to dashboard. Here you need to authorize this. All right, so now that once we authorize, you will see that this is the dashboard, and here you can do things, right? So we need to do the setup of the app. So you go here to use cases, and then you can see here the API that we selected. In this case was WhatsApp. So you click here and customize. All right, so you can see here, you click in API setup, and then here we have some things. I will explain everything step by step. All right, so the first part is that we have the access token. So this access token is just temporary access token. You can use it to test, but it will be revoked like I think like some hours or something. So like doesn't really, it's not like it's just for testing, you cannot use it on production. And yeah, like in the next part I will explain you how you can create like a refresh token and access token that we can use and never expires. But like if you quickly want to test stuff, you can just click here generate access token and just use that token and it will work. All right, so here you can see that this is a test number. This is the one that this is just for testing again. This is the one that I'm receiving the messages when you are doing all the testing. This is important, just the business account ID, so keep it there. And then here, this is the phone number for the testing, right? So you can just manage a phone number list here, and then you click the number, you click there, and it will send you a message, and then it will appear here as this one. This is just the testing that I was doing. So once you select it, you can see here that you get this call request, right? So if we were to test this, so you can see that it's actually working. Like for example, as I mentioned, you can use Postman if you want, or you can just right away send the message and you will see if it works. So before you do that, you need to generate the access token. I just did it, so you can see here that now it appears here. And once you verify the number here, you click in send message. And then if we go and check, and if you go to WhatsApp, you can see here that I got some messages, and this is pretty much a hello wall that is working, right? Okay, so you saw that it worked. Now these few things here, so let me move myself here so I can explain this. All right, so these webhooks, basically, a webhook is just like a notification that Meta can do to a software, like send you an event. Every time that something happens, it kind of like notifies a software, right? In this case, for example, something that could be an event is that, for example, you send a message to someone and the person replies to that message. So that will be an event, and that event can notify something, maybe an automation that you have that every time that someone replies to a message, something needs to happen, right? So in that case, you can configure webhooks that way. In this case, I'm not getting into webhooks, but eventually I will make a video, or if you want, just down below in the comments, let me know if you want to see a video about it. And then I will record a video about webhooks, but in this case, I'm just testing the API, right? Then here, this is just the documentation in case you want to get into it more into the technical part of the documentation. Here, this is for adding phone numbers. If you're like, getting this into production and stuff, you can just add the phone number, which is pretty much the same thing that we did here. With this, you can just verify the phone number and everything. But once you have that, you can use it here, right? And this is just adding the payment method, right? Once you start like scaling, you will need to pay, right? But for testing, for doing this, it's free, all right? All right, so this is the walkthrough of this dashboard here. Later on, I will tell you what are the IDs that we need here, but this is just quickly you can connect the phone number and just make sure that everything is working before we can move on with the next part. All right, now we will jump to the second part, which is the access token and the refresh token. All right, so I will explain what's the difference and how we can get both. All right, so what is the difference between the access token, right, and the refresh token? So basically, the access token is just like temporary. You can use this token. It depends on the API. Some they have this token valid for like some hours, some days, and I'm not. There are some APIs that also have this for like weeks. But usually it's just like 24 hours or like one day, like a complete day or 12 hours, right? Weeks. All right. And then here, the refresh token, this token usually like 1 year or like never expires, right? So for this case, we will use like the one that we create, like Meta have two ways to get a refresh token, right? We can use one that has like 60 days. You can get one for 60 days, or you can get another one that never expires. I will explain how you can get an air one, but I mean, but you can get both in the same set in the same place. So, but just to for you to understand. So once you have the refresh token, right, which is what I'm going to explain now after this explanation, the idea is that you have like the refresh token, right? So you have the refresh token, and with that refresh token, you can use it to get access tokens, right? But because these access tokens have like the expiry time period of like, as I mentioned, hours or days, doesn't really matter here because the only thing that matters is the refresh token, right? So you have like, we have code that it will call like a function and it's kind of like refresh the token, right? So we kind of like, we use the refresh token to refresh the access token, and it kind of just, every time that we make a call to API, we refresh the token so we can use it. So, if you don't like, doesn't really matter because every time that you make a call, we get in a new access token. So in that case, doesn't really matter if you are like this expiry period here, right? So yeah, that's basically the how it works with refresh tokens and access tokens. All right. I will put below in the description how you can, like, what the documentation says about this. There you can see all the details, like expiry periods and everything. But this is like a high level explanation of how it works. All right. So now that we understand how the refresh token and access token works, let's go into the platform and I will explain how you can get this refresh token. All right, so now I'm going to explain how you can get the refresh token. So you go to business.facebook.com, right? And then it's gonna take you to like the business manager part. You can see here, business suite, and here the business portfolios and your account. In this case, as I mentioned before, I'm using Lingual just for these demos. So you select this one here. So to get the refresh token, you need to go to system users here under users. And here, if it is the first time that you're doing this, you will have like a small button here saying that you need to set up a system user, which is this part here. So you just click there. But basically you will see something like this, right? You will see that you can give it a name and then you select what type of system user you want. In this case, always select admin if you're using an API, right? But here you can use it for like employees and stuff. But for the API, put here admin and then you create the user, right? So once you create the user, you will have something like this. And then here you can kind of like connect the apps and get the refresh tokens, right? So, but before you get the refresh token, you need to assign an asset. So basically it's just like connecting, right? The app to your business portfolio. So in this case, I have these that I was testing, but let's delete it so you can see how it looks like without that. All right, so let me move myself maybe here. All right, so you will see that it says assign assets. So you just click there. And then here you go to apps, right? And then here you can select the app that you created, right? So in this case, I created this one, Demo YouTube, and here you give it a full control, right? And then you assign the assets. And then that's it, right? So you click done. And then if you refresh the page, you should be able to see the assets. Okay, so you can see here, this is the app. And now we can create the token, right? So you click here in generate token, and then here you select the app again. So this is the one that I created. And then here you can see that you can create one for 60 days or one that never expires. So you whichever you prefer, right? But in this case, I go with never, select, and then you can select the permissions that you want for that. Because this app is connected only with WhatsApp, you can see that it's only showing the WhatsApp scopes. But in case you wanted to, like, if you connect it with like Instagram or something, you will see more things here, like more scopes, more things that you can do. But in this case, it's just like WhatsApp. So usually, like for example, if you're just messaging, you go with this one, right? But I will recommend that you also add management in case you need to like add things. Like maybe you want to see what's the name of the template, so what's your name or something. Like management will show you data, metadata that you might need, right? For this demo, we are only sending messages, so you don't really need it, but just put it there in case you need it for something, right? And then that's it, right? So you click in generate token, and voila, this is the token. So pretty much this is the token that you will have, the refresh token that you will need for like to get access token, right? To refresh often the access token. So you just copy that, right? And then you keep it handy. And now I explain how the setup of the spreadsheet is and where you can put this token, all right? All right, so we finished already with access token and refresh token. So now let's jump to templates. Okay, so templates. So basically, templates on what in WhatsApp API is that like you have two ways of like, I mean, you have multiple ways of like sending messages to the API. But like for example, if it is the first time that you are contacting a phone number, um, so there's not like a conversation already. You need to use templates. So there are like a pre-approved template, right? That you do with WhatsApp, with Facebook, and then you can use that to send like the first message. And that will be like one way of doing it, which is the one I'm going to explain right now. However, there are other ways. Like if you already have like a conversation going on with a person, in that case, you don't need a template because it's just like replying to a person. So that's just another endpoint, right? But in this case, what I'm doing is like sending templates, like reminders, because that's the demo that I'm explaining here. But let me know in the comments if you want me to create a video doing it the other way. But for templates, basically, if to explain you like better, let's go to Business Manager so you can see what I mean. Okay, so here in Meta Business, you can see like it's the same URL, business.facebook.com. And basically, once you are here, you can select the business manager, right? The business portfolio. I was testing with Lingual, so let's go there, and then you can click here in visit settings. So this is the same one that we did before to get the access token, the refresh token, sorry. So now, if you click here in the sidebar, you will see that we have something that says like all tools. So you click there, and here you will see something that says manage, and you can go to WhatsApp Manager. So you go there to WhatsApp Manager, and here in WhatsApp Manager, you have something that says my manage templates, right? So the first time that you do this setup, the only one that you will have approved is this one, Hello World. And this is the one that when I did the test in the previous section, it worked. Remember that I just send the message and it worked. It's because like first time for testing, we have this one already approved. So, but I created these two for these demos. So you can see that it's already approved. It takes around 1 day to get approved. But for example, if you wanna like create a template, you click here and create a template and you have a bunch of templates, right? You can do a lot of stuff. Actually, you can also do your custom templates. But for example, here you have like marketing templates, utility templates, authentication templates, and you can see here how they look like a preview, right? So for example, if you go to template library here on the left, you will see that we have a bunch that you can select from. The one that I'm using is this one here. This is the one that I choose, right? So you can, if you remember, we have like the name of the person, then we have like the company, and then we have like a date, a time, and then we have a link so the user can open that, right? So this is the one that I selected here, and I just select it and ask for approval. But you can see that you can do a lot of stuff and everything is the same, right? So you can just do that, choose a template, and it will work. So once you have the template approved, it will be like this. So just make sure that you're getting the names here correct, right? So we have, like, for example, if we check this is the one that I'm using for this demo. So if you edit the template here, you see that we have the name, right? But this is important. You need to make sure that when you are sending the code with the same variables, right? So here we have 4 variables, and this is the URL that will send in the message. So if we go back to WhatsApp to show you how it works. Okay, so this is the template, right, that we tested yesterday. And you can see here that basically we have the name, and then here we have like the appointment link, then we have the date and we have the time. So that's basically what I show you in the other website, right? And here, if you click, it takes you to the link that you put there. So this link, for example, so this link is this one here. You can see here that it's the same link. So you will put it there, and then these are the variables, right? But these variables, we're getting that from the spreadsheet, so you don't need to worry about them. Just be aware that there are 4. Just keep in mind that there are 4 variables, right? In case you are editing the templates, it's like you need to do that, right? And this also applies in case you are selecting another template, all right? Because if you are like using another template, it will have different variables and it will work differently, right? So just keep in mind that in that case you will need to adapt the code to work for that template, but it will be just one function. So but just keep in mind that you will need to do that, right? Okay, so you can see this is how it needs to look like, but you don't need to worry about it. Like I will explain how this is set up in the code and in the last section, but for now you just copy paste the name of the template and it will work because the code right now is reading the same format. All right. So this is everything that you need to know about templates. So yeah, let's move on to the next section. Okay, so before we get into the next section, which is like the code walkthrough, just to give you like explain a little bit better this part of the template, you will put the template name here, as you can see. All right. So in that case, the code will understand what is the template. You can see here that we also have the other variables. So in this case, the company name is this part here, right? Variable number 2 that we have there. Then we have the name, which is the variable number 1. In this case, the name is being gotten from here, right? The first name. Then we have the date and the hour, right? Which is this part here, same. We have the date and the time. What was the time? And then here we have the link. In this case, the link is hard coded there in the template that I show you. All right, so we need also the phone number ID, right? So for you to get this number, is like in the first step that I explained when you were doing the setup of the app. So I will explain how you can get it. Here, coming back to the app, remember we have the API setup and everything, all these details. This is the phone number ID, right? I think I didn't mention in the beginning, so that's important, right? So you just copy that and then you go back and you put it there in the sheet and then that will work, all right? Okay, and with that, we have everything to test this. So before I move into the code walkthrough, I will do like a quick demo here so you can see that it works. So you can see here that I put the API token, then we put the template, template name, which in this case is app test. You saw it there. Then the sheet name that I'm using is appointment, so it's here. And then here we have the company name that I will use for my message. And then it's the phone number that I just explained. So you can see here that we don't have anything here. So once I send the message, it will put up OK. So just make sure that if you're testing these multiple times, you need to delete the OK here, because otherwise it will see that there's already an OK, so it won't send the message. All right, so I deleted the messages here. And then here, well, let's go back and then just like, let me delete this so you can see that it works. Delete. Okay, so we test this, we can just click here in WhatsApp and then send appointments. And let's see, we should receive the messages now. It's loading, you can see here that we got the messages. So number 1, number 2, and then another one coming. Yeah, you can see here. So we have the messages, and that's pretty much the logic, right? You set up here the names, the dates, the times, the phone numbers, and then once it sends the message, it's gonna put an OK here. Okay, so basically this is pretty much everything that you need to set up to send reminders on WhatsApp. So let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully this is helpful for any of you guys who are like, like doing some marketing or stuff like that. If you want me to like make a video doing something specific with WhatsApp, put it down below in the comments and I will record a video with a new user case, right? And that's it, right? So now let's jump to the next section, which is like the code walkthrough. All right, guys, so this is the last section, the code walkthrough. So let's go to a spreadsheet so we can see how everything is set up in the background. Okay, here we are in the spreadsheet, and then to see the code, you go to extensions, app script. Here, you will be able to see the code, right? So you can see that this one is a bit long, but I will go step by step, so I will explain how everything is set up, right? So here, as always, we have the config. So you can see here that from here we're pulling the data from config, which is this part, right? The config. Let me make this big, and actually this is big enough, but this one not really. So yeah, like the config, these details here. So if you want to change that, just change it here, right? This is just to make this super dynamic. So you can see here that we're getting the token from the from V1. Then we have the template name from V2. Then we have here what is the sheet that we are reading from for the appointments. In this case, it's called appointments. Then here we have the company name, and this is for like the second variable that we need in our template. And this is the phone ID that is needed, right? So basically it's the phone number ID that we got once we create the app, right? And this is the endpoint that we're using, right? To make this, for example, that I put here an example. So this is the base endpoint, and then here we have the phone number that we're getting that from the spreadsheet, and then we are using the messages endpoint. And this is just like if you're sending messages in English, you need to put this in English. If you're using it in Spanish, it's gonna be like something like that, right? And you get the idea, right? So this is how it works. This function here basically is just like for this button here, like WhatsApp, some appointments, nothing special there. So you can see here that once it gets the URL, like once we open the sheet, right? It just creates the button here. You can see name WhatsApp. This is the name of the button, and then this is the function. So now the next function is this one, main. So basically this function is an orchestrator. So you can see here that this is what it's doing, right? So it's kind of like doing step by step. You always have some comments within the function so you can see what each part of the function is doing. But this function pretty much is an orchestrator, right? So it's kind of like connecting everything and just running everything one by one, right? So this is pretty much this logic here. Okay, so this next functions, get config sheet, and then this one. Basically, they are the same in the sense of like they are both for config. It's just I split them to make it a little bit more legible. But the idea here is that we're getting the sheet, right? And this one is getting the data within the sheet, right? So that's pretty much what these two functions are doing. Then these are just helpers, right? So this one is just to normalize the strings. Like, like sometimes you might input like some some spaces or something. So this one just trims, make sure that everything is fine. Same for dates, sometimes something might be wrong. So we're just making sure that the date is correct, and so we don't, yeah, so we don't have an error with the API. Same here with the names, just a normalizer. We kind of like just like a check-in before sending the data to API. Here the same. This is more like a formatting because you can see that the template has a specific core format for like the date sometimes. So this is what I'm doing here, right? Same for this is for like you can see here that this is for the time, hours, minutes, and seconds. And this next function basically is like also sanitizer, but it's more general because you might have like some rows that are empty, right, in appointment. So in this case, if there's nothing, it doesn't break because this is sanitizing that, right? Like the whole data is kind of like doing like a quick cleaning. So you can see here that we kind of like trimming spaces here and just like, new lines, just making sure that the data is clean so we can send it to the API. And this last function basically is just creating the message that we send in. So you can see here that we kind of like, using the details that we got from both sheets, right? Appointments sheet and config, and we kind of like creating the variables, right? Like that we need to send. So if we go back just to check what I'm doing here, and here in WhatsApp Manager, remember I mentioned that we have 4 variables, and this is how the message needs to be sent. So you can see here that we have like some hard-coded message. Hello, variable number 1. This is the reminder, blah, blah, blah. Variable number 2, variable number 3, and a variable number 4, right? Plus the URL here. But this URL is already hard-coded here. The only thing that we need to build with the code is this part here, right? So if we go back, okay, so here you can see that this is what I was doing, right? This is what I was mentioning, right? So you can see here, first variable, second variable, third variable, and fourth variable. And here we're creating the request itself and sending that to WhatsApp. So that's pretty much what I'm doing here with this code. So something that is important is that if you want to use different templates, that's the thing, you need to modify this function, right? Because this function is the one that is creating the templates. So you gotta make sure that if your other templates are like you're only using like 2 variables or something, you need to modify that here, right? So this is the one to check. The rest of functions will work because it's just sanitizers. But if you want to tie that up, you can just like run this code through like ChatGPT or something, so you can like um, make it work with your new template. But in general, most of it is already like I did it dynamically, so you don't need to like edit many things, right? But that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know if you have any questions regarding the code. Put it down below in the comments, and I will reply to them as soon as I see them. But basically, this is the idea here, right? And that's it for this video, guys. So let me know if you have any questions. I will be happy to help. And that's it. Hope it was helpful.